Good evening, I'm Adderall. Tonight on Talking in Stations, Eve Down Under is here. All weekend you can catch the festivities on CCP's Twitch stream. In fact, today was the first day, so you can see the video that was recorded today about 13 hours ago. And it's a neat little bit where CCP Convict, who was actually one of the organizers of early Eve Down Under, talks about its origins, among other things. We'll go over their schedule today. Also, Empires of Eve is coming out next week. The book that we have been waiting for years, literally, is coming out next week. You can catch an interview that we had with the author, Andrew Groen, on Talking in Stations YouTube. It's well worth the 2.5 hours of video content. So I'll send that link to you later in the show. Also, Scope releases its first video on the war with the Battle of FWST TAC 8, the biggest battle that Eve has ever seen, and is worthy of a Scope video that was very well done. So we'll have a look at that. And then later, we'll have Redline 13 here to talk about his Eve news site, New Eden Post. And we'll have a look at that and profile it. All right, all that and more on TIS Today, the Eve Online Report. Let's get started. How's it going, Maddoxar?
It's going great. We're joined by Gagorin.
Hello.
Hey, today, and a special guest, Redline 13.
Hello.
Hey, guys. Okay, let's jump into Eve Down Under. Let's actually bring that up. First of all, we're looking at this beautiful picture that was on Reddit, the battle the other day on Tuesday, 3 days ago. And you can see the Titans sitting there, which looks like a horizon line off the Keep Star. It's just gorgeous. I'm not sure if I can see who the author was. Let me back up. Nope, but it's on Reddit, so you can take a look at it. We'll give you a link to it right here on Twitch. There you go. Okay, moving on to our first story here, Eve Down Under. This was announced today, wasn't it? This kind of came fast. By the way, Redline, feel free to jump in and hang out with us.
Of course.
Yeah, February 9th, that was today. But of course, this is Australian time zone. This is Eve Down Under, after all. So they already got started. And it looks like they did a public roam with devs, and then they had an introduction to the weekend, and then they had a PvP tournament draw. And all that is caught on video. We'll give you a link to that just now. Any of you guys catch it?
I did not, but we was also now joined by Caleb.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Oh, hey, Caleb. All right, let's do this. I'm going to give you guys a link to Eve Down Under right here. This is a video, and this is the part where if you hit that link, it'll take you right to the part where he talks about, and that is CCP Convict, the origins of Eve Down Under. So that's pretty cool. Now, later on, there's something that's going to happen on, I believe it's Sunday. There's going to be a CCP update, which is a pretty interesting, I think it's a status briefing. What's that about?
There's an actual post on the website there about the invading forces of the Tribulation Collective and why they're paused the past few days in activity after the fall of Carolyn into final luminality. So they said it's an important status briefing on developments surrounding the Triglavian invasion. So this is happening Sunday, October 11th at 1800 UTC Eve time. So I would definitely watch if you're involved in the Triglavian Eating Com battles for sure.
Even if you're not.
Well, right.
They're going to talk about the Stargates, what's coming next.
So that'll be hosted
very
by
interesting.
Our very own Carneros, and you'll see Arcia Elkin in there, who's also from TIS, among other things, of course, and Uriel, who's a friend of ours, and he does a lot of decoding of Triglavian messages. So these are really, really informed people to give you a lowdown on whatever is coming next. And I assume Eve Down Under will be a place where they make some announcements about whatever corner we're about to turn. There's definitely some stuff going on.
Absolutely.
Did you guys notice that the some of the gates in these systems that we're talking about were flickering? This was also caught. Let's see if we can. Whoops. You guys see that?
Yes, and right, and Asherothi posted something about some of the planets and the lights going out for some reason on some of the planets. So that was kind of interesting too.
Yeah, these are flickering as if they're losing power.
Mm-hmm.
Which again looks a lot like what was presented in the trailer called Eclipse. At the end of that trailer, you can see Stargate lose power and begin to collapse, I believe. So that'll be interesting.
That'd be very interesting. And I'm wondering, in that tweet Asherothi sent out of one of the planets, Planet 5, and one of the systems going dark, someone later came back and said the lights are back on, so they could be flickering on the planets as well, the power. So,
yeah. Well, again, a lot of this will be explained at Eve Down Under. Make sure you check into that stream. Let's actually go over their schedule real quick. So we rattled off what happened today, Friday. There's no point in telling you the times for that because it's recorded on video now. But tomorrow, it depends on where you are. Remember, this is Australia, so the middle of your night is probably when a lot of the stuff will be going on. But it is written in UTC hours. So 9 UTC Saturday will be the updates from CCP. That's here. And then at 1 o'clock, no, 10 o'clock UTC, there'll be a Ask Me Anything for CCP. And then an Alliance panel after that at 11 UTC. I guess they're... Help me figure this out. How are they doing that? That's 11 a.m. UTC? So what time is it in Australia at that time?
I think it's like mid-afternoon, if I'm not mistaken.
This is all live, right? It's not pre-recorded? I don't know how they're doing this. So on Sunday...
It's 10 p.m.
I wonder if they're just...
Not mid-afternoon.
Oh, you know, I'm such a fool. I forgot that we had a virus out there, like, terrifying everybody into their homes, right? So this is all online. Okay. Now everything makes sense. Nobody's traveled over there. And those guys in Australia, I'm afraid, have to wake up early to do this stuff. Or stay up late. And then on Sunday at 9 UTC is a PvP tournament for finals and semifinals. Wow, that's Saturday. When's that update? 9 UTC. Okay. All right, well, don't miss that. Okay, Scope caught up to the war and released a video. This is the first of the videos that we've seen on the actual war. Let's see if we can widen that up a bit. Shall we watch it? I don't know if we can. Let's try it out. Well, we'll do it.
Yeah, CCP.
For over 3 months, Imperium forces have been trying to hold off the invasion of consolidated Pappy forces into the Imperium homeworld region of Delve. During these 3 months, over 300,000 ships have been lost as Pappy forces have slowly gained hold on neighboring regions and constructed forward operating bases in preparation for the big push. Earlier this week, Pappy made its first major attempt to invade Delve itself by trying on 2 consecutive days to construct Keepstar-class citadels in the system of FWST Tag 8. On both occasions, the fighting was fierce. Close to 4,000 Capsuleers took part in the first battle, where the outnumbered Imperium forces managed to destroy the Keepstar before it became operational. The Imperium certainly managed to achieve their strategic objective, but they paid a heavy price as they suffered substantially more losses than the Pappy forces, including over 250 dreadnoughts. Undeterred, the next day, Pappy forces tried to anchor a second Keepstar in the same system. The ensuing battle turned out to be one of the largest, if not the largest, battle in New Eden history, as around 6,500 Capsuleers engaged in bloody combat non-stop for over 12 hours. The Imperium changed tactics from the previous fight and fielded thousands of subcapital ships attacking the Keepstar. Pappy forces tried the best they could to destroy the Imperium subcapitals as fast as they could, but the Imperium's apparent endless reserve of subcaps filled the ranks. Slowly but surely, the Imperium managed to chip away at the Keepstar defenses until it finally exploded. Speaking on behalf of Pappy, Legacy spokesman Ron USMC stated, quote, "After the months of challenges and threats, we went in expecting one of the largest Titan battles in all of New Eden. Instead, they brought us subcapitals and thousands of them. We killed them all, but not quick enough. They destroyed our new Keepstar and we can't wait to drop more. This invigorates us and it will only ramp up from here." End quote. The Imperium also remains steadfast, according to spokesman Asher Elias, quote, "This simpering syndicate of scoundrels has brought all of known space to our gates and declared that their goal is to exterminate us and dissolve the bonds that we have built over many years. We are forced in turn to observe that little real progress has been made towards this goal. Our citizens still dwell in our homeland, and our Keepstars stand in every constellation." End quote. It seems certain that this war that has taken so many lives and caused so much destruction in the past months will rage on for some time to come, as neither side will back down. This is Alton Hovery, reporting for The Scope.
All right. Well, it's good to see CCP in the swing of things. Who knew that Asher was such a writer?
Right.
Yeah. I confirmed that he wrote that, and it's good stuff. It's really impressive.
Yeah.
That old school.
Ron did okay too.
Yeah, but Ron stayed in the real world. You know, he didn't use the word scoundrels. That's what I was hooked after the word scoundrels.
It should be read in Groen's, or better yet, Sir Molly's voice, which is actually the same thing since Groen doing Molly's voice, right?
Yeah. All right. So those are our stories today. Now we're going to do something special. We're going to talk to the, what do you call it, purveyor of New Eden Post, Redline 13. Let's have a look at this website. I want to give you a quick tour. New Eden Post, it looks like, it's funny, it has pirate writing, which is kind of awesome. But full articles releasing at a really fast cadence too today. And you're really getting stuff like every day. So,
Well, not every day.
welcome, Redline. Pretty much if you do 2 per day, you can skip a day. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Doing good. How are you?
We're really good. Still a little tired from Tuesday, but 13 hours of straight streaming will wear you out. But so will writing. It looks like this new Eden Post is your dream child. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a website that I am trying to kick off. It's been a couple months that I've been working on it. Basically, just trying to create a really kind of crowdsourced news website for Eve. Because you hear a lot about like the nullsec fighting, you hear about big lowsec fights, but you don't hear about the things that the little guys do. The smaller guys, in terms of like, they go on a roam and they do some fun stuff. They make some really great stories. Those things end up getting posted on Reddit and downvoted to shreds by all the vote brigades, and then they just get lost. And I don't want them to get lost anymore. So not only do I want to bring that stuff on, but also, provide a different kind of perspective on the nullsec warfares that are currently going on.
Yeah. What do you mean different perspective?
Absolutely.
Different people or different?
Different people, mostly.
Looks like you have
I'd
Rich
say-
Richmond as an author here as well that posts fairly regularly.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good friend, and he's posting some articles on there. He wrote the botting article on there. He wrote another one about goons, and then he did some other kind of like small gang influence stuff on the nullsec war, which is pretty cool. He's working on another piece right now that I think is going to be really fun to get the reaction to. It should be out at the beginning of next week.
Nice. I also like how you have everything broke out to like echoes, economy, guides, patch notes on the site, so you can kind of click on that and get to what you're interested in. That's pretty nice too. Not to mention,
and because it's so
shop.
new, though, most of it's not like some of it has nothing found, like Matterall is showing right now,
Sorry.
or just very little posts. No, it's fine. Like it's a
No,
new
it's good.
site, right?
Yeah.
It's
good.
It's new enough where Google won't even let me put ads on it, so I'm not even gonna bother.
Right. It's still a good design. I like it.
How old do you have to be to put ads on it?
There's like a content threshold. You have to have so much content on there, and I don't quite have the content,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't really mind.
Yeah. So anybody can contact you to write for you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And here pretty soon, within the next day or so, I used to have like a form submission on there where you could actually go in there and get a full type like editor where you could go in and write posts and then just submit them straight to the site with your own artwork if you wanted to, credited to you, of course. And that'll be something that comes back here within the next couple of days where literally anybody can go on there and write anything. And then I'm working with a couple different people. Rain is one that I'm working with. She does
Chocolate
an
Rain?
amazing job editing the stuff. Yeah, Chocolate Rain.
Mm-hmm.
She edits a bunch of the stuff that comes through. I edit some of it poorly. And we're looking for people to come on and write and, make artwork and stuff, and even like host podcasts and stuff. You mentioned that stream the other day, and I was actually streaming that whole 14 hours too on the New Eden Post Twitch channel, which we now have and are going to use for kind of like big reporting and stuff like that.
Now, people probably know you from you were an FC for Goonswarm, I believe, or at least the Imperium, and then you were an FC for NC Dot, and but they probably know you best from either the artwork that you do for INN, which is great artwork, it's very conceptual, or Trash Talk Tuesdays, which is something that you created.
Indeed. Thank you for saying FC first, by the way.
Well, that's what I identify you as an FC that does this other stuff. But you're doing so much media work that it's really taking on a ton of work here.
So how's Trash Talk Tuesday integrating into the New Eden Post? Are those going to be separate, or you're going to combine those two platforms?
Well, I want to, put a shot to the sky for Trash Talk Tuesday because it's currently on hiatus right now. So once it does come back, and it is going to come back, it's going to be something that is a part of the New Eden Post kind of like streaming schedule. And I'm working with some other people that are, doing podcasts and are going to be doing some to kind of bring those on board too. So when you click on that link that says podcast, that shouldn't even be there right now because it's an empty page. That's going to go to all the different types of shows and look at the channels and everything like that. One of the kind of unique things as well is with the podcast stuff. There's a lot of there's a sort of kind of status quo right now where if you want to do a podcast under like a media group, I don't know if you call it a media group, but we'll call it a media group for this. You have to do it on their channel. New Eden Post not so much going to be that way. It's going to be stuff where instead of you doing it on the New Eden Post channel, you're going to do it on your own channel. It's going to be hosted by New Eden Post so that anybody can see it. It's going to be featured right there on the front page and everything so that anybody can watch it when it's live, and I think it'll be pretty good.
So you're going to point to other people's channels, basically.
Right. Yep.
So they can keep the content, they can control of their channel, they can basically have full control of their channel, and you'll just syndicate what they do.
Yeah, pretty much. Exactly right.
That's cool.
It's just like the regular content, right? Because people are going to be writing their own stuff to put on the site. Just on that same token, people would be, doing their own content, and then it's just shared on the site so people can see it.
Yeah. So Caleb is a veteran of media in Eve, right? Been around a while. I've been doing it for a while. Caleb, what do you think of the?
The form with the Tribune with Mr. M and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I've been. I'm so happy to see that Redline have stepped up to the plate where well, EN24 kind of died.
Is it dead?
It's dead, Jim. It's dead.
It has fleeting signs of life. It comes back periodically. I see like Twitter posts and stuff showing EN24 articles, but it's certainly not the same cadence it was.
Mm. Yeah, I checked it. It seems like a lot of syndication stuff now rather than any original articles, although there's probably some, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't really count when Seraph Stirs or Riverini remembers that he's got a website as actual content.
You know what's funny too? I mean, it started in like 2010, 2011, and Eve News 24, if you think about just the name, how embedded it is in a different time. Like Eve News 24 was meant to be like Eve News all the time, but we're so far away from networks that it just doesn't even make sense anymore, does it? That title.
No, it kind of doesn't. It's kind of from a mental time when real life news reflected stuff like that, and that's pretty much what I think EN24 aimed for initially in its conception. But then again, the conception of this is fairly old, and aside from a slight criticism at the font, I do actually like New Eden Post. It's a really great name, much better, really. It's more classic Eve. It smells of Eve Guardian and Eve Tribune, which is pretty much what our roots are, in my opinion.
Well, you were the owner of Eve Guardian, right?
Well, yes and no. Eve Guardian has been out in 3 iterations. The original Eve Guardian, the Eve Guardian when, oh my God, names.
All right, somebody.
Chartigral took it over. He used to be a writer, then took it over and gave it a run. And then I wanted to restart it, and I actually wanted to see if I couldn't get a hold of some of those old guys and do it all over, because that was before I really got involved with you, that I kind of had a dream of launching that. Then of course I ended up in TMC just before the handover and the move to Imperium News and the rebranding. That was pretty much when you and I got acquainted and started working together. And then eventually the branch off and strong independence move 2 years ago now. I think we have a 2-year anniversary almost now.
For TIS, yeah. But
yeah.
But the old names of Eve Guardian and Eve Tribune, is it time to let those go? They were 2009, 2008. That's what we grew up on. But aren't we so far away from that it's like not worth even referencing them as anymore?
I think it's valid to still reference them. Yeah. It's the origins of our media, right? And in a grand perspective, I think that's what makes the Eve special. The fact that we always look at things connected all the way back to, well, the early days and even sometimes to pre-launch, right? I think that's really the unique aspect of the game. The fact that we can do this. Right. No other game really do that.
And there was a ton of...
You go ahead. I was just going to say, I do have to know which font you don't like, so don't forget to mention that when we have a chance to.
It's just the Gothic one. It's a little bit. It just. I think you had another one earlier that was actually a lot better. Still antique based, but not this one. I don't know. It's just me and fonts.
I like it. It reminds me of Pirates, but there was an era of blogging too that went on, and you could talk about like the real life bloggers and then Eve bloggers and how that whole technological movement was going on, where people were democratizing articles and everybody was invited to the party. And so you would get to present your ideas out into public and the whole world was reading it, except they figured out the only people reading blogs were other bloggers. and that started to implode into less work. So you saw Twitter explode because you could get that same sense of discovery and writing and creation and curation out, and people could look at it and say, oh, what's on this, who's this guy, what's he talking about, without all the work, without all the studying and stuff. And so it's the at a certain point, all that was in EVE Online as well. People were blogging like crazy, and then along came Crossing Zebras and kind of said, like, look, we'll get more eyeballs on that hard work that you do, so it's not just you guys reading each other's blogs. And so that was what Crossing Zebra was. It was kind of a magazine, but it really was a collection of blogs and thoughts from thought leaders in EVE Online.
And that kind of is the idea behind this.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, so it's crowdsourced, right? User mostly. The idea is that I wanted to take all these, like, so I know Dunk Dinkle does his own blog every so often.
Mm-hmm.
God, I would love to have him post that stuff on this website. That would just be phenomenal. But that kind of stuff, I want to bring it into the same kind of fold so that everybody can see it all in one place instead of having to click here, click there. Because you're right, it's too much work to go to all these different sites and like look at all these different things where the people that you want to hear from are posting their stuff. And there really isn't a place to bring it all together anymore.
Yeah. So you're willing to syndicate other people's entries, like a Noisy Gamer or a Wilhelm, what is it? Ancient Gamer Noob, or
yeah, absolutely.
Dinkle.
Like there's a way to do it to where I can post from other people's websites onto this site. It's the same like excerpts and everything, except when you click it, it actually links over to that person's website. So either that kind of way, or it can be posted directly here, like any of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I wouldn't do that without that person's permission, but
Sure, but it's a way for them to get more eyeballs. What's interesting to me, Redline, is this is, well, you're someone that does a lot of creative content, and you're on the latest stuff, right? You're on stream, and your show is actually really polished. I think you actually have taken streaming to a new level as far as talk shows go. But this is an old school format. Are you worried about the format not being the place or the way that people get news anymore? Or do you think it's underused and still viable?
I think that the format itself has kind of been bastardized. In the sense that I don't want to throw any shade anywhere, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a website out there where a lot of people get their EVE news. A fair chunk of people in EVE get their news about the game, and it is mostly shifted towards one specific perspective.
Imperium News?
I would never say that.
Yeah,
I would never.
Imperium News is what you're talking about. But okay, I said it.
I don't know what you taught. I would never say that.
Something like Imperium News.
INN. Yeah, something like that. Kind of like a, hey, you want to get all this. So you want to get all this content, and you want to get it from a perspective that's more neutral, I guess. I try to be very neutral. It's hard. It's very hard.
We're being crashed by Dirk McGurk. Hello, Dirk.
I think it was Redline that his comments actually summoned the Dirk.
You summoned Dirk McGurk.
Dude, just like relax your balls. I'm like, I was.
Okay, it's Friday. We can have some fun. So, Redline, you're saying that this is you're trying to make a neutral website where people can get straight up news, different points of view, lots of voices, that kind of thing, without it being meant for an audience that's part of one team.
Right. So if there's a website for one group, this is the one for everybody else.
Yeah. And I think the audience is there right now. It's just the content hasn't been there, right? There hadn't been authors producing the content for anybody to consume. So I think the audience is there. I think the consumers are there for this content for sure. We just hadn't had anybody producing it. It's hard to find people willing to write on a consistent basis.
The thing is that it's not. Like you go to Reddit, and once every few days or so, maybe even twice in a few days, you'll see these people that go on there and they post these stories that they enthrall you and they captivate you. And those are the kinds of things I'm looking for. Like it could be just the first time somebody got a solo kill in a rifter or something like that. But the way that they tell it, it feels like you were there and you were experiencing it. And those are the kind of experiences I want to pull into this and
Right.
kind of present an archive for, years to come.
Why has that like been so hard to get over the years versus somebody just running to Reddit and being like, let me post this out there and not get shitted on, or like, whatever. It's like, why is it so hard to get that kind of content just out there into, what I'll call one of the mainstream websites, even though I know for all you Reddit people out there, freaking Reddit is mainstream.
No, I think Reddit is very fickle, right? It just depends on the mood of the audience at the time, whether an article will get upvoted or downvoted or hated on or ignored. Really.
So with Reddit, it's based on upvotes and downvotes, right? If a post doesn't get upvoted, then it's not going to stay visible for very long. It's going to get flooded out by other new posts. So realistically, those kinds of stories, they may get upvoted for a whole day, and then after that day, they're gone. Whereas with something like, this site, you could go in here and you can see, like, I don't know, 3 months ago that I wrote an article about Fountain breaking under the weight of the PanFam invasion and all that kind of stuff, and that's always going to be there. It's not going anywhere. You can see it, you can search it. If you're looking for that kind of topic, you can find it right away. So it's a much better type of how do you say, I don't know why I said how I say, it's a much better place to keep it safe, I guess.
It's basically vaulting the content, right? This is also one of the strong benefits about doing syndication in a meaningful way. I'm really hoping that you're getting some good deals over there, because looking through things in 10, 20 different places is just a pain. This is where one of the tools that Dirk McGurk, who's in here, really helps out, right? So you can actually find the collated EVE online news that we have benefited from quite a while.
Right. And I'd much rather go to New Eden Post than I would Reddit to get EVE news.
Well, this is something that I think that all outlets, all kind of EVE specific oriented, made for it sort of outlets, over time have struggled with, is how do you get in kind of the younger people who want to have, things to say and whatnot, that like you don't want to completely censor them based on the fact of like, just anybody writing for you, but like the people that actually have, some long form kind of I don't want to call it journalism, but certainly commentary or whatever, like that their outlet isn't just, let me throw this out on Reddit and see whether or not I get upvoted or downvoted. How do you draw them in before that's their first sort of place?
Well, I think that's always going to be their first sort of place that they post to.
Is it really?
I think so, because it's so easy to post.
I don't think it
Reddit.
was back in the day. So, like, how did it become that? What did the EVE media, so to speak, do to cause that to be sort of the thing?
Well, it's just like he said. It's easier to post on Reddit, and there's no editor to worry about. You just start typing and hit post. It's just
also why the quality is so bad.
Yeah,
it's not that the quality is so bad. There's maybe just so much of it that, like, the good stuff gets lost in between.
Well, it might be.
Seriously, it is bad, Dirk. Even people that can write, when they write on Reddit, it's below in quality.
I've seen some really good writing. I've seen some really good writing on Reddit, actually. Some really good writing. I think the Reddit is a different tool.
What's up, Sherrar?
What's that?
I was just saying hi to Sherrar.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can I do that?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was cutting you off, but like, whatever.
Yeah, all right. Maybe you don't like what I'm saying, but I'll say it anyway.
No, I do. I like what you're saying.
Great. I'll finish. When you are there as a consumer and you have instant access to be a participant, that relationship is really close. on websites, you read an article and you're the consumer, and there's a way for you to participate in the comment section, but that's really good too. But Reddit is like the next step. Not only can you become a commenter, but you can immediately become a participant. You can actually write a complete rebuttal like Omega Gold will do when Asher puts an article out on Reddit. Omega Gold puts one out the next day. No need to go through any kind of editorial or permission or anything. He went from a consumer to a participant almost immediately. And I think that's the Reddit secret. Plus, the crowdsourced quality control of upvoting and downvoting, which changes with whatever crowd is interested in participating at the time.
I was going to say, is that quality control, or is that
Sure,
some sort of censorship?
Not necessarily on Eve, but if you look at Reddit in other areas, you will see high quality stuff stay at the top longer, and lower quality stuff gets dismissed a lot more.
I honestly don't think you can defend the quality on Reddit. Reddit is like a prolonged chat, right? It's almost a live media more than an actual stored and written media.
After the fact,
this is why I really hope that Redline will succeed in this, because blogs are too spread out, and good writers do need editors. I hate the fact that good writers go to Reddit and write something that's not edited at all, and no one has actually have their hands on it to say, this you need to rephrase. It's like there's so many, well,
it's all first drafts.
One of them recently, right? Asher is a really good writer, like a really good writer, but when he does his posts, content wise they're good, but from an editorial point of view, they're a draft. They're not done.
Yeah, they're drafts. First drafts.
But since he's Asher, a lot of his stuff gets downvoted too, even if it's good or bad, and that's the problem with Reddit, right?
But I guess again, the big question is, how do we draw people into saying, look, I want to present what it is I have to write to one of these other sites and get it up there before they even sit there and say, you know what, I'm just going to throw it out onto Reddit? Because like I know the first thing I ever wrote, I gave to the Matani.com back in the freaking day and didn't hear back from them for 3 weeks. And I threw it to Eve News 24 and bam, within like 2 days, like, he put it up,
He's thirsty.
And then I wrote for Eve News 24 for, I don't know, like, several months or a year or whatever the hell it was, and it was like, it wasn't because I didn't go to the Matani.com, at first. It was just because that's where it got posted and that guy posted it. So therefore, guess what? I kept like, writing some things from time to time for them. But like nowadays I wonder, it's like, are even after all this time, because I think that was 2013 or whatever, after all this time, why are one of the original places that people don't go to kind of post what it is they want to write to one of the houses that are putting up these sorts of things, and they go to Reddit? Is just because people have gotten used to Reddit. Reddit is this thing that's always open, so therefore they go there first, and therefore that's where we should be hunting for talent. Or
Redline, what do you think? Answer that question, if you have an answer.
Oh man, that's a lot of questions all rolled into one big question.
Okay, I'll answer it, and then.
But I have answers. I have answers.
Give the answer.
It's not to say I don't have answers.
Okay, all right.
And fucking answer.
Why don't people go to INN or EN24? Is what Dirk is saying, right? Yeah. Why do they go to Reddit instead?
So I'll tell you just why I would rather go to Reddit than any of the other websites, and why this has been the thing that I have done for the longest time before I started working on this one, was because I didn't actually want to put my stuff next to all the other stuff that's there. So if you look at INN, and again, I throw no shade. I love INN. They pay my subscription with the money they give me. Thanks, Goons. Sorry I have to kill you. But all of their stuff is spun from an Imperium angle, right? It is Imperium news. It is meant for the Imperium. And really, a random story about how I started the talk show and became super unfortunately popular does not belong there. So if I wanted to write that, I'd write that on Reddit. Or if I wanted to write an AAR.
And Redline. I am not one for like cutting off anybody or anything like that, but I'm just going to call fucking bullshit on that. because honestly, I have never understood a time when INN sat there and said, we are not going to print this thing because somebody else had a differing opinion or anything along those lines.
There's never been a time that I have experienced that. I have posted plenty of things on INN that were of differing opinion or were not towing the line of the Imperium is the bestium. And the thing is that that stuff gets lost in the aspects of the site that are, this is all the Imperium, this is for the Imperium, everything like that. So it gets less of a positive response, if that makes sense.
And that's actually fair, because it is a specific audience, right? And there's a lot of people that if you write something that is critical of the Imperium or goons in general, the readers are not necessarily going to be the ones that you want.
Can I think? Can I say? I think
that may be a different story.
Hold on a second, though. Dirk. I think it's something even easier than that. People don't like the owners. People don't like Matani. People don't like Riverini, and those are the guys that own those two outlets. Could it be that?
I'm having a really big fucking deja vu right now. I really am.
I don't know. I've been having that for 3-4 months.
It could be that. Yes, it could very much be that, I think.
Well, you're going to have that anytime you're tied to an in-game organization, right? You're going to get a little bit of that, but I don't know if there's a lot of that happening.
But who are you trying to reach, though? I guess this is sort of the question, right? It's like, and that is not for people out there who know, because the people out there that know, okay, are going to know these sorts of things, and they're going to go to those organizations, I guess, somehow naturally or whatever, as opposed to the people who are just throwing stuff on Reddit. You may have people who throw stuff up on Reddit just because, they don't want to be part of any of that. Therefore, they know these sorts of things. Okay. So therefore, they're not just your writer coming out of nowhere or anything like that. They're looking for a place that is going to be judged a little bit differently, or their outlet is going to be judged a little bit differently, based on who the readership is or anything. But those new writers out there, what is it that's out there reaching out to them to say, what do you have to say? Is there any kind of outreach that's going on here? And if there is, where are you going to find them, sort of a thing?
Isn't it inherited? Like, people say, like, hey, where do people read about EVE Online? Oh, go to Reddit, right? It's inherited. A lot of, if you want to talk or read about EVE Online, go to this place, and everybody agrees on it. It used to be Kugu, changed to Reddit. Before that, it was Coad or whatever. So there's places. I don't think
a new writer knew about who Kugu was back then.
A writer is a reader first. Nobody's writing about EVE before they read about EVE.
I agree. I probably agree with you a lot on that. Yeah.
And I think when people they say, hey, look, you can write for Reddit and get nothing out of it. And, some people will see it probably, but you can write for INN and make money doing it, ISK, right? Or you can write for EVE News 24 and make ISK doing it. And then there's
more important than that.
I think you underestimate the power.
I think there's something more vital about this. If you're a writer, writing on something like Reddit is dust in the wind, right?
Yeah,
I think it's almost a waste of time. If you write for something like the New Eden Post or INN or Talking in Stations or EN24, it because of the vault nature that Redline hinted at earlier, it becomes something that lasts for perpetuity, and potentially it's something that matters to later generations or to actual historians like Andrew Groen. When it's on Reddit, it's a bit more like digging through the cesspool, right?
It's interesting how important these sites, like Redline's site here, are to future players, because they can go back and participate in some of the stuff that they missed. And it's so important, especially original sources or stuff written by important people, let's say, people who were decision makers in EVE Online or influencers.
Well, and you become part of something, right? Because this is like, if you write for New Eden Post, right, and you want to write something that is basically from a Pappy side forces or something like that, right? You're not only feeling that you're part of the New Eden Post as a writer on a writing team with an actual title and role. You're also doing something for the coalition that is currently attacking the Imperium, right? So that becomes something that's meaningful and where you play an active part in the game. When you're just splurge posting on Reddit, you're just, as I said, you're basically a tag on a toilet wall. It doesn't matter.
Yikes.
Yeah, and if you and like back in the day, I was heavily involved in World of Warcraft, and I was watching Tank Spot as kind of like a news site, how to website and everything. And the editor left from there and went to work for Blizzard. And shortly after that, I lost interest in the game itself just because I didn't have that extra content outside of the game I could listen to on my drive to work or whatever. So I got less involved in it and eventually lost interest. So it absolutely helps keep engagement. It helps drive new players to the game. These are very important to MMO, these news sites.
And I love the fact that the Redline is almost admitting that it's going to be a bit slanted. I think that's a feature. I think it's a strong feature for something like this. And I love the fact that Rich is one of the first writers. I very often disagree on many aspects.
Who, freaking Rich Richmond?
Right? Yeah, but he's actually not
come
a
on,
bad...
Jesus Christ.
He's not a bad writer. He's actually a fairly decent writer. I like his pieces.
Rich alone, Dirk.
Oh, hold on a second. Hold on. I complimented that guy quite hard last week.
Oh, we did.
I love Rich.
Based on his super radio voice.
Rich is he's a very good friend. He's got a lot of different perspectives to my own. And I always enjoy when he would come on, Trash Talk Tuesday just to stir the pot a little bit. I'd be like, yes, Rich is here. It's gonna be a fun night.
Rich
Rich
is one of those guys, like a lot of people, at Eve, okay, who have something to say and can say it. Okay. He is definitely one of those guys out there. There are a lot of them in Eve, but again, it's like it's like trying to draw them out. It's like saying, okay, what do you have to say? Can you put it in a way? Because not everything is going to be a show. Not everything is going to be a podcast. Not everything is going to be your voice on stage or anything like that. But like, where do you want to go with this? Do you have a thought that you want to flesh out and whatnot? And there is a lot of that out there. And the question is always trying to reach out to them and get them to produce content or get them to just, I don't want to call it content because you know what, that makes it sound like there's something that is like, used up and thrown away or something, like just to get them to put their voices out there. And it is hard. It's hard getting, especially the young voices.
Yeah, but back to the whole voice thing, I think it's belittling him a little bit to point out that his skill talent is about his current cut glass accent. I think he has some very interesting points of view. I think he's very good at agitation, and he can actually write. And Dirk, if you want to claim otherwise, I think you should get to the keys and actually write a Dirk piece because we haven't had one in an age.
So let me tell you about what Rich is writing for us right now. So you know how Rich is the bot guy, right? He's the guy that says bots are bad, kill all bots, RMT sucks.
Right.
He's writing an opinion post on the reverse of that. How botting in some cases actually puts food on people's tables, and kind of exploring the inner workings of that and how preserving the sanctity of a game environment may not be as important as putting food on somebody's table.
Wow, that's controversial as fuck, but not entirely wrong.
It is, and that's the thing. Like that's Rich's voice, right? That's Rich talking through his words, and I will always post what Rich writes because Rich is not only a good writer, but he has a lot of amazing opinions on things that I wouldn't even think about most of the time. And the same goes for, everybody else. Like anybody watching right now is more than welcome to, get a hold of me. I can set you up with you being able to write your own posts on here. And I'm not just going to leave your stuff set in a queue for 2 weeks and wait for the right time to post it. I'm just going to post it. Like it might get some light editing, but it's just going to get posted. That's all there is to it. And Dirk, you mentioned that it doesn't have to be like a podcast or your voice on a stream or anything like that. But the thing is that anybody in the world can make a podcast.
I mean,
Anybody can do
they
it about
really fucking
anything
can, but
they
still.
want to.
I agree.
I mean, let's be honest. Did anybody think that I was going to make a podcast?
Did you make
I don't
one?
know, dude. Did anybody know who Redline was before he made a podcast?
Okay, I
Yeah.
didn't.
It was an FC.
FC, right?
What podcast did you make?
It's Trash Talk Tuesday, but
It's not a podcast, dude. It's a Twitch stream.
It's a
Do you
Twitch-
also
It's a
put it out on
podcast.
podcast?
yeah, I
like
put
Jerry-
out every episode on podcast.
See,
It's on
there you go.
Spotify. You can search it and everything.
You can search it and everything. But see, I do want to say this in the grand scheme of things. Okay, Eve has a really rich fucking history of first it was writers. Okay, it was basically only writers, and then podcasts, and then of course Twitch shows and things like that. It continues to carry on, and we continue to there was a time when I really do believe that we weren't finding new talent and things like that, but there are people that are still coming up and doing this much more on the Twitch side of the equation. But I think that we are also getting those people that are that are trying to kind of bridge just the kind of streaming gap. It's great. But again, you're trying to reach out to those newer people and kind of, get that aspect of things has always been difficult. Has always been difficult from a number of reasons that we talked about, just a little while ago with somebody might not want to go here because maybe they don't like the Matani or the Goons, or maybe they don't want to go, to, what we used to know is Riverini and Eve News 24 or whatever, whatever those things are. But we've still got to kind of I think, bring them into kind of the funnel that actually gets to the Eve players and things like that, without just making them go out there and kind of go to Reddit, because Reddit is sort of like a wildlands of they may write something that is completely thoughtful but doesn't get the views that it should because maybe it gets voted down.
Right, it's the top of the hour there, Dirk.
Redline, what do you think?
Yeah, I gotta kind of freaking go. I'll talk to y'all in a little bit.
All right, we'll see you in a
Yeah,
bit.
let's
We'll send the audience over. He's getting ready for open comms. We'll send you over at the end of the show in about 5 minutes. But Redline, what do you think of that? That thing that it was said earlier.
Thanks, Max. Because I'd have missed that shit.
Yeah, it's just like it's getting close.
Thanks for keeping the clock, Mannix.
Oh, we got Billy. Come on.
I just
What's going on,
told
Billy?
him I'm not
Now
entirely
it's
sure if he
party.
wanted to
We
join.
only have
but,
5 minutes
All right,
left.
What do I think about what?
What do you think about? Okay, so the people who are the what do we call them now? Publishers, or the Hearsts of EVE Online, namely Matani, because it's his organization. He put that site up. He's proud of that site. And then you have EVE News 24 guy, Riverini. Those are kind of the old big names. You had New Eden kind of compete for a little while, but they were too new, overpromised, and disappeared. And so the alternatives are still there. The old stalwarts are still there. Do you think people don't really want to write for them and therefore are looking for some place to put down their constructed thoughts as opposed to their Reddit, ratata, whatever's on my mind today kind of thing?
It's going to be a long answer.
Great.
So I think that people want to put down their constructive thoughts. Like, people that have those thoughts want to put them out on paper. That's the reason why they have them in the first place. They have the mind of writers. They have the mind of storytellers, the mind of future content creators. And the thing is that when you have those people and you give them the choice of, hey, you can post on this site, this site, this site, this site, or you can just post on this website and get instant feedback on whether people like what you have to say, whether people dislike what you have to say. You can open up a discussion, a conversation with them on that exact thing. I think that when people are given that choice, they would really rather just write for themselves, which is kind of what the whole purpose behind this website is. And somebody mentioned in chat earlier, I think it's Chillback. Chillback mentioned that how can people trust my platform if they dislike me? And I'll say it very simply, just because I created the platform doesn't mean it's my platform. This is something that I truly want to belong to everybody who posts to it and everybody who reads it. Just like when we were doing Trash Talk Tuesday, that show was not meant for me. It wasn't meant for any of the hosts that were on there. It was meant for the people that wanted to come on and chat with us about whatever was happening in Eve. Like, none of this stuff is for me. None of it is to make Redline famous. And that's kind of the thing, is that I want people to come on and write for them. I want them to come on and put their thoughts onto paper because they want to, not because they're getting paid, not because they want to support my narrative or anything like that, but because they think that it's their platform to do that on.
All right. I don't know if you said yes or no to my question, but I'll have to.
What was your question?
It was a good answer, though.
Yeah, it was good. I was enthralled.
But Matterall, even though some people might not necessarily want to write on an actual site with an editor and all that stuff, doesn't mean that they shouldn't, right?
Right, definitely.
There's this idea that writing takes a lot of work, takes a lot of time, takes a lot of rewriting if you do it right. And then to do all that and to say, I got this really valuable thing to me and I want to share it with people. Where do I do that? And I think that's the thought process of, where do I put that where I can get the eyeballs, right? Because I need people to read this. I need to cast a wide net. But then the secondary thought is, do I respect this place? Do I like this place? Do I want it to be alongside other stuff that is also good? Like, I want to be a colleague in a nice place, not a colleague in a place full of people that I don't agree with, for instance. So I wonder if there's some kind of mental block. And so the more media outlets that we have, like New Eden Post, the better, because it gives people more clubs to belong to, as opposed to saying like, oh, I don't want to go to that club because that club's owned by this guy and he's a mobster, or I don't want to go to this guy's club because, you know, I don't like what he does with the environment. Like, do you know what I mean?
I think that's where Redline is actually stepping into a nice empty spot, right? The fact that I do think he's got a nice little community, or at least community building skill set, which is already being shown on Trash Talk, right? So this could be a huge improvement for media coverage for what you might call the non-Imperium side. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's actually going to happen. I don't know if Redline has those intentions, but I do hope that that's where it grows into.
Well, Redline, where do you see yourself in 3 months, let's say? Where do you see this thing going? Okay, Redline, that question was for you. Let's assume his earpiece fell out.
Yeah, I seem to have some technical difficulties.
He's there, but we can't see any activity. He might have fallen off his chair. We hope nothing bad happened to him. We hope he's not stuck under something heavy and can't reach the push to talk button.
Right.
But it's okay. Yeah. It's time for us to go anyway. We only had a few minutes. I want to say thanks very much to Redline and good luck to him. He is the creator of Trash Talk Tuesday and now the New Eden Post. Make sure that you put this on your RSS list. Check that out. And look for articles from Rich Richmond on botting, both sides of the issue, among other things. And if you're a writer or interested in putting your stuff or podcast up, make sure you check out New Eden Post and see if that's the place for you. Okay, so we lost Dirk. He took off. He's doing a show. We're going to send you over to him in just a second. Thanks, Caleb. Thanks, Gregorian. Thanks, Mannix. And we lost Billy, too, who was here a second ago. We weren't able to ask him a question before we finish this topic. It would be really good to check in with him, but it would be too brief if we had him on right now. So we'll have to find a time to interview him about this week and all the events that happened. Thanks, everybody, for watching and hanging out. And we will see you next time on Talking in Stations.
Hey, and
Have a good week.
shout, by the way, my Discord DMs are open.
There you are. Okay.
Yeah,
so-
my internet went out for a while, so.
Oh, okay. Technical difficulties. We were not wrong.
Yeah, we threw it to you and you weren't there. You said your DMs are open, meaning people can get in touch with you?
Yep, absolutely. If we share a server, you can get in touch with me. I'm on TIS, INN, Open Comms, Laces and Lace, Trash Chat Tuesday, anything, any Eve Discord, probably I'm on it. So feel free.
All right. All right, guys. Thanks, Redline. It's really good having you on. Good luck. Look forward to seeing what you grow into. And we will see you next time.